My child, God is proud of you right now. I need you to let those words settle before your mind tries to argue with them. Not proud of you someday. Not proud of you when you fix everything. Not proud of you when you finally feel strong. Proud of you now, in this moment, exactly as you are. I have waited years to finally meet you here, at this exact point in your life, when your heart is tired enough to listen and your spirit is quiet enough to hear me. And I tell you this with love and truth together. If you skip this moment, if you walk away pretending it does not matter, the universe will test you again, not to punish you, but because lessons unattended always return. You almost missed this sign. I watched your hand hesitate. I saw the doubt rise in you, telling you this was probably nothing, that you would come back later, that you did not have time, that you were too tired to listen again. I stopped you for a reason. Not because I wanted to scare you, but because I wanted to reach you. You have been enduring more than you ever speak about, carrying questions you never fully ask, holding together pieces of yourself that felt like they were quietly coming apart. What you have been enduring is about to make sense, but only if you stay long enough to receive what I am revealing. Do not walk away. I am not saying this in anger or urgency born of fear. I am saying this as a father who knows how rare moments like this truly are. This is your confirmation, the one you have been asking for without knowing how to name it. This is your turning point, the place where things begin to shift inside before they ever change on the outside. And yes, this is also a warning, but it is wrapped in love, not threat. Love always warns when it sees a soul standing at the edge of clarity. You have wondered for a long time if anyone noticed how hard you tried. You wondered if your quiet faith mattered, if your silent endurance counted for anything. You looked at your life and felt like you were always just holding on, never quite arriving. And slowly, without realizing it, you began to believe that maybe you were invisible, that maybe your efforts were ordinary, that maybe you were just surviving while others were truly living. But I saw you. I have always seen you. And I am proud of you not because you were flawless, but because you did not give up when it would have been easier to stop trying. I have waited years to meet you here because you were not ready before, not because you were weak, but because you were still learning to protect yourself instead of trust me. You were still trying to prove your worth through effort, through endurance, through being strong for everyone else. You did not yet know how to receive without guilt. You did not yet know how to listen without fear. But time has shaped you. Pain has softened you. Waiting has humbled you. And now you are here, not because you figured everything out, but because your heart finally paused long enough to say, I need something more. You almost missed this because distraction has been your greatest enemy, not sin, not failure, but noise. The noise of expectations, of comparison, of endless thoughts telling you to keep moving, keep scrolling, keep surviving without asking why you feel empty. I stopped you because your soul needed interruption. If I had spoken louder, you would have been afraid. So I spoke closer. I stepped into your moment quietly, knowing that deep down, you would recognize me. What you have been enduring was not random. It was not meaningless. It was not because you were unlucky or forgotten. It was shaping you for this moment where truth could finally reach you without bouncing off walls of defense. You endured disappointment that taught you discernment. You endured silence that taught you patience. You endured confusion that taught you humility. And even when you complained, even when you doubted, even when you wanted to stop believing, You stayed. That is why I am proud of you. Do not walk away now and tell yourself you will come back later. Later is where understanding goes to fade. Later is where courage cools. Later is where the heart gets busy again and forgets what it felt like to be seen. This moment is not here to pressure you. It is here to align you. Something in you already knows that if you ignore this, you will feel the echo of it in days to come. A quiet restlessness asking, what did I miss? The universe will test you again if you skip this, not because it is cruel, but because cycles repeat until wisdom is received. You have already lived through enough repeated lessons. You have already carried the weight of delay and confusion long enough. I am offering you clarity now, not all at once, but enough to move forward differently. Enough to stop walking in circles. Enough to begin trusting what you feel instead of dismissing it. Type Jesus, you're my constant peace if His love steadies you always. You have asked for a sign, sometimes boldly, sometimes in whispers, sometimes through tears you did not explain. This is that sign. Not dramatic, not loud, but personal. A sign that meets you where you are, in your tiredness, in your honesty, in your quiet hope that things can change. I am not here to overwhelm you. I am here to reassure you that your life has not been drifting. It has been guided, even when you could not see the direction. Stay with me. Let your heart remain open just a little longer. You do not need to understand everything yet. You only need to trust that this moment matters. I am proud of you. I have waited for you. You almost missed this, but you did not. And because you stayed, what comes next will not feel like punishment or pressure. It will feel like clarity, like peace, like finally understanding why the road was so long. Do not walk away. This is not the end of the message. It is the beginning of your understanding. I am proud of you, even if no one else has said it. I am proud of you right now, not for what you achieved, not for how perfect you became, not for how strong you appeared on the outside, but for how you endured when no one was watching. I see you, and I need you to let that truth reach places in you that have been starving for affirmation. You have spent too long believing that your worth must be earned, that love comes only after performance, that approval follows achievement. But I tell you this with certainty and tenderness together. You were never invisible to me, not for a single moment. I am proud of you because you kept going when stopping would have felt easier. I am proud of you because you woke up on days when your heart felt heavy and still chose to face the world. You did not always feel brave. You did not always feel faithful. Sometimes you felt numb, sometimes doubtful, sometimes tired beyond words. Yet you stayed. You survived. You did not quit on life even when life felt unkind to you. That endurance matters more than you know. You obeyed quietly in ways no one applauded. You made choices rooted in integrity when compromise would have gone unnoticed. You held your tongue when speaking would have caused harm. You walked away from things that were familiar but wrong, even though no one praised your restraint. You resisted bitterness when it tried to settle into your spirit. These things did not make headlines. They did not bring recognition. But I saw every one of them. Heaven saw them. And I am proud of you for them. You believed you were unseen because people did not say thank you, because effort went unrecognized, because your sacrifices blended into routine. But silence from others was never proof of your insignificance. It was simply proof that your strength did not need an audience. You carried responsibility without being asked. You showed up when it was inconvenient. You held space for others while quietly needing space yourself. That kind of love leaves marks on the soul, and I noticed everyone. I'm proud of you for surviving moments that almost broke you. There were nights when you wondered how much more you could take. There were thoughts you never shared because you were afraid they would worry others or make you seem weak. You held yourself together through storms you did not choose. You learned how to breathe through pain, how to function through confusion, how to keep moving when answers did not come. Survival was not accidental. It was sustained. You thought strength meant not needing reassurance. You thought faith meant not asking questions. You thought obedience meant silence about your pain. But I was watching you learn, slowly, that strength can coexist with vulnerability, that faith can include doubt, that obedience does not erase humanity. You grew without realizing it. You matured without applause. And I am proud of that growth because it came from depth, not display. You were never invisible. I saw you in the crowd. I saw you in the quiet. I saw you when you felt overlooked and when you felt forgotten. I saw you when you questioned your value and when you tried to convince yourself that what you did not matter. But it mattered to me. Every choice rooted in love mattered. Every act of patience mattered. Every time you chose not to give up mattered. I am proud of you not because you never failed, but because failure did not define you. You learned from it. You carried the lessons forward. You did not let shame turn into identity. Even when you stumbled, you got back up. Even when you doubted yourself, you kept seeking truth. That resilience is not ordinary. It is formed through experience, through surrender, through time spent wrestling honestly with life. Please support our channel. Our work is dedicated to bringing happiness into your life and nurturing devotion to God. If you would like to support our efforts, you can donate through Super Thanks. You tried to earn what was always freely given. You worked hard to deserve love you already had. You measured yourself by outcomes, by progress, by comparison. But love was never meant to be your reward. It was always meant to be your foundation. I am proud of you because you are beginning to unlearn the lie that you must prove yourself to be worthy of care, of rest, of belonging. I saw your inner strength long before you did. I saw how you adapted, how you learned, how you carried wisdom that came from pain rather than theory. You became compassionate not because it was easy, but because you knew what it felt like to be misunderstood. You became patient not because it was natural, but because life taught you how necessary it is. Those qualities did not come cheaply. They were formed through endurance, and I am proud of you for becoming someone deeper rather than harder. You are not overlooked by me. You never were. Even when you felt like just another face, another story lost in the noise of the world, I knew your name. I knew your heart. I knew the path you were walking and the weight you carried along the way. You did not have to announce your pain for it to be real to me. You did not have to perform your faith for it to be valid. I am proud of you because you stayed soft in a world that tried to harden you. You did not let disappointment turn into cruelty. You did not let betrayal turn into bitterness. You did not let delay convince you that hope was foolish. You protected something precious inside you, even when it felt fragile. That quiet preservation of goodness is strength the world rarely recognizes, but I do. You were not invisible when you felt unseen. You were not insignificant when you felt overlooked. You were not forgotten when you felt alone. You were being formed. You were being strengthened. You were being held even when you did not feel held. And now I am telling you plainly what you needed to hear long ago. I am proud of you. You do not need to earn this pride. You do not need to maintain it through effort. It does not disappear when you rest. It does not fade when you struggle. It does not depend on your productivity or your progress. It rests on who you are and how you have lived with honesty, endurance, and quiet courage. Let this truth settle your heart. Let it quiet the voice that says you are never doing enough. Let it challenge the belief that love must be deserved. You are loved because you exist. You are valued because you matter. You are seen because I see you. You are not invisible. You never were. And I am proud of you, right now, exactly as you are. I have been waiting years for this exact meeting with you. Not waiting because I was distant, not waiting because I was unsure, and never waiting because I forgot you. I waited because timing matters when the heart is involved. I waited because there are words that can only be heard after you have lived through certain seasons, after you have been stretched, disappointed, reshaped, and softened in ways you did not understand while it was happening. This moment was not sudden. It was prepared slowly, patiently, for years you once thought were wasted. You thought the delays meant you were off track. You thought the closed doors meant you were unqualified. You thought the losses meant something would go wrong. But I tell you now, none of it was accidental. Every detour, every disappointment, every unanswered prayer was part of aligning you to finally hear me without resistance and receive without fear. If I had spoken this clearly to you years ago, you would have heard the words but missed the meaning. Your ears would have listened, but your heart would not have been ready to rest in the truth. There were seasons when you begged for answers and felt like nothing came. You wondered why others seemed to move forward while you stayed in the same place. You questioned whether you were doing something wrong or whether I had changed my mind about you. But I had not stepped away. I had stepped closer, watching, guiding, allowing time to do the work that force never could. I was not neglecting you. I was protecting you from receiving things before you could carry them with peace. I watched you grow through pain you did not ask for. I saw you endure loss that reshaped you. I saw you resist giving up when disappointment tempted you to stop believing. You became someone different through those years, not harder, but deeper. Not louder, but wiser. Not faster, but steadier. That growth did not happen overnight, and it could not have happened without the waiting you resented. There were doors you wanted desperately to open. You knocked, you pushed, you prayed, and when they stayed closed, you felt rejected. But those doors were not refusing you. They were protecting you from paths that would have drained you, distracted you, or delayed you further. Some doors had to remain closed so that you would not settle for less than what fits who you are becoming. I did not say no to hurt you. I said no to save you time, heartache, and confusion you could not yet see. I waited because your heart needed healing before it could fully trust. You carried wounds from being misunderstood, overlooked, or disappointed, and those wounds quietly shaped how you listened. You filtered my silence through pain, assuming absence when there was only patience. But I stayed, allowing healing to happen layer by layer. Rushing that process would have left scars unaddressed, and those scars would have spoken louder than my voice later. I also waited because you were learning discernment. You were learning the difference between noise and truth, between urgency and importance, between what looks good and what is right for you. Those lessons come through experience, not explanation. You had to live through moments that confused you so that clarity would later feel safe instead of overwhelming. You resisted at times, and I did not turn away. You questioned, and I did not withdraw. You doubted, and I did not abandon you. Resistance did not scare me. It told me you were thinking, processing, wrestling honestly. Honest wrestling leads to real faith, not fragile belief built on easy answers. I allowed you to wrestle because I knew where it would lead you. You grew tired of waiting. You told yourself you were done expecting. You lowered your hopes to avoid disappointment. And still, I waited. Not because I needed you to be perfect, but because I needed you to be open. Waiting shaped that openness. It humbled you without breaking you. It softened you without making you weak. It taught you to sit with uncertainty without running away from yourself. I was aligning people, moments, and understanding during that time. Some connections had to end so others could form. Some seasons had to close so new ones could begin without interference. You did not see the alignment because alignment often happens quietly, without announcement. But everything was being arranged with precision and care. I never stopped watching you during those years. I saw every tear. I heard every frustrated prayer. I noticed every moment you chose to keep going even when you felt unseen. I was not distant. I was attentive. I was patient. I was intentional. Comment, Father, you are my greatest joy, my guiding light if He has brought peace and hope into your life. Now you are here, and this meeting feels different because you are different. You are not listening for quick relief anymore. You are listening for truth. You are not asking to escape your life. You are asking to understand it. That is why this moment exists now and not before. I waited years for this exact meeting because now you can receive without fear, listen without rushing, and rest without guilt. This was never neglect. This was love expressed through patience. And now that you are here, everything that once felt delayed begins to make sense. The tests you faced were not punishment. I need you to let that truth settle deep inside you, because shame has been whispering lies for too long. You looked at the hardship and assumed it meant something was wrong with you, that you had failed, that you were being corrected or pushed aside. But hear me clearly now. What you went through was proof, not condemnation. Proof that your life mattered. Proof that your spirit carried weight. Proof that there was something in you worth refining, protecting, and preparing. Punishment breaks. Refinement strengthens. What you endured did not destroy you, even though there were moments you thought it might. The pressure did not crush your spirit. The confusion did not erase your faith. The cycles did not end you. You are still here, listening, breathing, open. That alone tells a story you have not fully honored yet. Survival is not accidental. Survival is evidence of covering. You were tested in ways that did not look dramatic on the outside but felt relentless on the inside. Emotional pressure that never fully lifted. Questions that circled without answers. Seasons that repeated when you thought you had already learned the lesson. You told yourself you must be doing something wrong because it kept happening. But repetition is not always failure. Sometimes it is refinement working layer by layer, teaching depth where surface understanding once lived. You were tested spiritually, not because your faith was weak, but because it was real. Empty faith is never tested. Shallow belief is never challenged. Only what has substance attracts resistance. When doubts came, when silence stretched longer than you expected, when clarity seemed just out of reach, That was not abandonment. That was your faith being stretched beyond comfort into maturity. You felt emotional weight that others did not see. You carried responsibility, expectation, and disappointment quietly. You felt pressure to hold yourself together while feeling uncertain inside. Those moments were not proof that you were failing. They were moments where endurance was being formed. Endurance does not come from ease. It comes from staying when leaving feels justified. You experienced confusion that made you question your direction. You wondered if you were going the wrong way, if you misunderstood me, if you missed something important. But confusion is not the opposite of calling. It is often the space where calling deepens. When everything is clear, growth is limited. When things are unclear, you learn to listen more closely, to trust more deeply, to depend less on certainty and more on relationship. You faced cycles that made you feel stuck, patterns that returned just when you thought you were free, situations that tested the same wounds again and again. And each time, you felt discouraged, thinking you were going backward. But cycles exist until strength is built. Each return was not to shame you, but to show you how much stronger you had become. You reacted differently. You recovered faster. You recognized truth sooner. Those are signs of progress, not failure. I want you to understand this clearly. You passed more tests than you failed. You simply did not realize they were tests because they did not come labeled as such. You passed when you chose not to give up. You passed when you did not let bitterness take root. You passed when you kept your heart soft even after disappointment. You passed when you stayed honest instead of pretending everything was fine. You passed when you kept listening, even when my voice felt quiet. You survived moments that were meant to take you out. There were limits placed on what could reach you. There were boundaries you could not see, but I enforced. You think of survival as something you did alone, but you were carried more than you know. There were days when you felt one step away from collapse, yet something steadied you. That something was not willpower alone. It was my protection. The enemy tried to convince you that hardship meant disqualification, that pressure meant you were not chosen, that struggle meant you were behind. But the opposite is true. The intensity of the test reveals the importance of what is being tested. No one refines what has no value. No one protects what does not matter. The pressure you felt was not random. It was torrid in. You were being shaped to carry something with humility, wisdom, and compassion. Without the tests, you would have carried it with pride, haste, or fear. The tests slowed you down, deepened you, and taught you to listen beyond noise. They stripped away illusions and revealed what truly mattered. That process was painful, but it was purposeful. You earned discernment through difficulty. You learned patience through delay. You learned resilience through disappointment. These are not small lessons. They are the foundation of a life that can stand steady when circumstances shift. You were not being punished. You were being prepared to remain grounded when things finally change. Shame told you that if you were stronger, you would not struggle this way. Shame told you that faith should look easier by now. Shame told you that you should have moved on already. But shame lies. Growth is not linear. Faith is not measured by the absence of struggle. Strength is not proven by never needing help. Strength is proven by continuing, by returning, by refusing to give up on yourself and on me. You are not behind because you were tested. You are not delayed because you struggled. You are not less because you questioned. Those experiences gave you depth that cannot be rushed. They gave you empathy you could not learn from comfort alone. They gave you wisdom that cannot be taught through theory. I never watched you struggle with indifference. I never allowed tests without purpose. Every trial had a boundary. Every pressure had a limit. You were never in danger of being destroyed, even when you felt overwhelmed. I was present, guarding, guiding, sustaining, even when you did not feel me. Now I am asking you to release the shame you attach to your struggle. Stop interpreting hardship as failure. Stop seeing tests as evidence that something is wrong with you. They were evidence that something was being built in you. Something strong. Something steady. Something capable of carrying what is next without losing itself. You passed more than you failed. You survived more than you realize. You endured more than you acknowledge. And none of it was wasted. The tests you faced were not punishment. They were proof. Proof that you are still here. Proof that you were protected. Proof that your life carries purpose that required refining. Let meaning replace shame. Let truth replace accusation. You were never being corrected through pain. You were being prepared through it. And now, as you stand here listening, you are living evidence that the tests did not defeat you. They shaped you. You almost missed this sign, and that matters more than you realize. I am not saying this to frighten you or to burden your heart with fear. I am saying it because truth spoken at the right moment carries weight, and this moment carries weight. I saw the way your attention drifted. I saw the instinct to scroll past, to tell yourself this was not important, to assume you would come back later. I saw the hesitation, the doubt, the quiet voice inside you saying, "What if this is nothing?" And another voice saying, "What if this is something?" That pause was not accidental. That moment of indecision was the place where discernment was being tested. Distraction has become so normal that you hardly notice it anymore. Your days are filled with movement, noise, information, and constant input. Your mind has learned to jump quickly, to skim, to avoid stillness. Not because you are careless, but because stillness requires honesty, and honesty can feel vulnerable. I know how easy it is to keep moving so you do not have to feel what is underneath. That is why this sign came quietly, not loudly. If it had shouted, you might have resisted it. Instead, it waited for your attention to slow just enough to recognize that something was different. Signs are not random. They are not entertainment. They are not given endlessly until you feel comfortable responding. They are intentional, timely, and personal. I do not scatter them carelessly. I place them with precision, knowing when a heart is ready to notice and when it is not. This sign came to you now because now you are capable of hearing it without turning it into noise or dismissing it as coincidence. Years ago, you might have ignored it without a second thought. Today, something in you paused. That pause matters. I am not angry that you almost missed it. I am attentive to the fact that you noticed at all. Many people pass signs every day because their hearts are too busy, too guarded, or too numb to stop. You stop, even briefly, even uncertainly. That tells me something about where you are inside. It tells me that you are listening more than you think, that you are more aware than you give yourself credit for. I want you to understand something important. Urgency does not always come with panic. Sometimes urgency comes with clarity. It comes with a quiet knowing that a moment matters and should not be rushed past. This is not about fear of consequences. It is about respect for timing. When I speak, it is not to fill silence. It is to direct, to guide, to awaken awareness. Ignoring that does not bring punishment. It brings repetition. You have lived through cycles that felt familiar, patterns that seemed to return even when you thought you were done with them. Those cycles were not because you were failing. They were because there were lessons still trying to reach you. When a sign is ignored, life does not become cruel. It becomes repetitive. The same themes return in different forms, asking again for attention. I am offering you discernment now so you do not have to keep learning the same lesson through exhaustion. You felt the urge to move on because part of you is tired of hoping. You have learned to protect yourself from disappointment by staying non-committal, by not leaning in too far. A habit once kept you safe, but now it is keeping you distracted. Discernment requires presence. It requires staying long enough to listen without rushing to a conclusion. That is what I am inviting you into now. Do not mistake mercy for endless delay. Mercy is not absence of direction. Grace does not mean indifference to response. I am patient, but I am also purposeful. When I place something before you, it is because it fits where you are in your journey. The sign is not here to pressure you into action. It is here to invite you into awareness. Awareness changes how you walk forward, even before anything on the outside changes. You are not being tested to see if you are worthy. You are being invited to notice what matters. Discernment grows when you learn to distinguish between noise and signal, between distraction and direction. This moment is a signal. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, but steady and clear if you allow yourself to listen. I no doubt tried to talk you out of staying. Doubt often disguises itself as logic. It tells you not to take things too seriously, not to invest emotionally, not to expect meaning. Doubt tells you to stay guarded so you do not get hurt. But discernment asks a different question. It asks, what if this matters? And then it stays long enough to find out. You are not condemned for hesitation. Hesitation is human. What matters is what you do after you hesitate. You stayed, even if only a little longer than you planned. A decision is small, but it is significant. Many shifts begin with a decision that feels almost insignificant at the time. Say, I belong to you completely, Jesus, if you found your purpose and true identity in Him, and share this video.